Welcome back to Indyfest 2021, everybody. I'm John Ralston, the editor of Nevada Independent. We appreciate your joining us this morning for the first day of our two-day public policy conference. We have something really special, a real treat for all of our viewers today, and that is for a glimpse into focus groups, regular voters that we have recruited in various cohorts. We have one with Latino voters, one with Democratic voters, one with Republican voters, and this one right now is with nonpartisan voters who have graciously agreed to come and chat amongst yourselves. I want all of you, I appreciate all of you being here, thank you. I want all of you to think about this as just, you're watching us in a living room. We're just having a discussion about politics. Let's keep it friendly. I mean, if you can disagree, it's fine to disagree, but let's, as the saying goes, not be disagreeable. We're going to have a civil debate, I hope, but one with passion, and don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel, and that's what we're really hoping is going to happen. So let's just start out by just giving very briefly, introduce yourselves. And I'm going to start over Eric, right? With you, just tell people your name, what you do for a living, how long you've lived in Nevada.
My name is Eric Laney. Let's see, I've lived in Nevada maybe like 20, 25 years, and I'm currently a receiving manager at Seafood City.
Okay, that's good. That's a good start. Go ahead, Kadarius, you're up.
My name is Kadarius. I just moved to Las Vegas about 5 months ago, and I'm a YouTube influencer and I'm an artist.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Sheila Rogers. I've lived here about 11 years. I teach at a local college, and I'm also a partner in a small business here.
Great.
My name is Frederick Schwartz. I've been in Las Vegas for nearly a quarter century, so from the 1900s, 1995, so I came here for work. I'm in the media industry. Specifically, I am a digital designer, administrative assistant, executive administrative assistant, marketing strategies. I get big checks from my employer, and that's my job.
Great.
Anthony Voda. I've been here since '04, and I sell life insurance.
Okay.
My name is Caesar. I'm a warehouse and logistics manager here, and born and raised.
Barbara Samaska. I'm a retired school teacher, and I've been here about 20 years.
Great. That's a good way to start the conversation. I want to say up front, let's everyone not be intimidated by Frederick overdressing for this. I'm just joking, of course. But let's. Who wants to start? And let's talk. I just released some poll results, as you may have heard, about how nonpartisan and minor party voters are feeling. Who wants to be the first to talk about why you are registered as a nonpartisan or in the first place? Who wants to begin?
I'll begin.
Go ahead, Kadarius.
I think so because I'm still like young and I'm still like learning before like just making a decision that everyone want me to make, being like either Republican or Democrat. I rather like engage until I learn myself fully or what it means so I can apply my energy. That's why I still haven't.
So you don't know whether you want to identify more closely with the Democratic or Republican Party. You want to learn more before, but you think you will eventually decide to go with the party?
Correct.
You are. How old are you?
25.
25. Good for you for learning before you decide. Who else wants to talk about why? Go ahead, Fred.
I clearly confess that I have indeed registered as a Democrat, but only, strictly, exclusively to vote in the primary. And quite frankly, I think Sisolak has done a poor job. He is a Democrat, is he not?
He is?
Yes, and I will vote for his opposite on the basis of his COVID policy, keeping the major properties open while closing all the quote-unquote non-essential businesses, small businesses, mom-and-pop operations, video poker bars, and restaurants. for all the basic, all my people.
But you're still a Democrat.
No, I'm an
At heart?
independent.
At heart?
I'm an
At heart?
independent. I'm an American, sir.
Okay.
I've taken an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I see a lot of domestic enemies. I saw quite a few on January 6th.
Okay. I appreciate
That
you
being
you
said.
said a lot there. Who else wants to talk about why they're not registered with a major party?
I would.
Go ahead.
Like Kadarius years ago as a young voter, I decided to be independent and try and learn on my own. Because I had family members and a lot of friends who were staunch Republicans, and I didn't want to go along with that. Okay, here I am 43 years later, I'm still an independent. I've learned, but I've decided that I'm more interested in voting with the issues. Sometimes those issues I favor the Republican side, sometimes the issues I favor the Democratic side.
Who else wants to talk about that? And who else wants to also, since Frederick's helping guide the discussion better than I could, I am very interested in what he said about the governor and being upset about his COVID policies. Is anybody else a nonpartisan for that reason, or are there other reasons that you're a nonpartisan? Who wants to say something?
Well,
Go ahead.
I agree with you. I feel the same exact way. I'm going to vote according to the person that I feel can do the best job. I'm not going to vote for somebody because they're a Republican candidate or a Democratic candidate. It's just the way I feel.
Why are you registered as a nonpartisan? Have you always been registered as a nonpartisan?
Yes.
And would you say that you voted more for Republicans or Democrats over the years? Is it close?
Well, years ago it was more Democratic, but I feel the party's changed.
In what way?
It's just not the same. Their goals and what goes on with them, you know. Really, I'm not too happy with either side right now.
I agree, Barbara.
Yes.
Really, it's disgraceful. The whole world must be just laughing at us.
There's such a
When-
polarity.
Yeah.
There's such a polarity of positions. I mean, the irony of blue lives matter. Indeed, they do. They do. All lives matter. We're all Americans. Yes, yes. But to answer Black Lives Matter needs to be said because there was a 9-minute lynching of a black man by a white man's knee. Just recently, and it elicited outrage internationally.
You're talking about
They're laughing at us.
You're talking about George Floyd.
I'm talking about George Floyd.
And
Yes, sir. And to beat a congressional policeman over the head with a Blue Lives Matter flag is absurd. Now, the point of the matter is that police have to be able to do their job. So there is that counterpoint, and it's a very difficult job. They have to deal with people, the very worst, the dregs of the dregs. So you have to have sympathy for the police at the same time. I mean, we have basic, fundamental rights to our person that need to be respected. We have basic Fourth Amendment, 14th Amendment, First Amendment rights. I would kill for those rights. I would kill.
Go ahead, please. I'm happy to be a potted plant. Jump in whenever you want and talk to each
Well,
other.
according to, adding to what he had said about the law enforcement, pulling billions of dollars away from them hinders them so drastically. A perfect example is de Blasio, what he did in New York. Crime is almost rampant again. We're going to have to bring back Giuliani, man, straighten out the...
Are you a New
straighten out the
Yorker,
state.
sir? Are you a New
Yeah,
Yorker?
actually, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay, all right.
And it's just disaster. I mean, we're getting calls from friends now that our neighborhood, which was very, very, nice in Queens, an area in Queens, and they're finding dead bodies in schoolyards. They're beating people, they're walking around the park it just never happened before. This is getting to be really out of hand. And to pull money away from the police force is really ridiculous. They got to put it back. They got to give it back to them. They got to give them. All right, it's true. But you look at it. Look at how many police there are, and you mentioned the 9-minute lynching, so to speak.
Yes.
What's the percentage? A fraction of a 1%. Bad cops. I mean, look at all the other cops that are doing,
Absolutely.
a decent job. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be here today. It'd be like
Absolutely.
that movie. What the heck? It starts with a P. I forgot the name of it. Where they got 12 hours to kill anybody they want.
Oh,
And they have to-
Purge.
Purge. I
Purge,
mean,
yeah.
come on. It's it's getting to be ridiculous. I mean,
You actually watch those movies?
yeah, I do.
Anybody else want to jump in? You want to jump in on it? What do you think? What you heard so far?
Well, I mean, I don't want to go into too much of the details of the whole George Floyd thing, but I mean, whatever, I know what happened was wrong. And you could blame the cop all you want, but you can't blame all cops. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous, taking funding away from the police. I mean, because the people who are taking the funding away from the police don't have to deal with the crimes that normal people have to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, you need the police, like, to be there when something happens.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? When criminals like do stuff, I can't believe how crazy it's getting everywhere. I mean, there's places where you can just shoplift and then won't even call the cops, and that's ridiculous. I'm so happy that here in Nevada is not like that, but I mean just one state over, it's like that. It's just, and I'm scared that it's going to get like that.
So this is interesting. You saw the defunding police, support police, criminal justice reform. It's interesting you're expressing your feelings. Caesar, do you have any feelings about that whole issue?
Well, I know defund is a very strong word. I know I've heard allocating resources to other agencies to also so they can help in different ways, right? So it's if it's a mental situation, maybe cops are not trained as well to deal with those mental situations. So maybe giving funds to agencies that can help in those ways that maybe cops can't. So they can
Oversight, treatment on demand, oversight agencies. There's over 3,500 police, local police forces, and some of them are just bad. I mean, Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, I mean, with all due respect, I mean, I know the vast majority of police officers in that department have noble intent, and they go about their business with best of intentions. The bottom line is that the one piece of equipment that all police officers should have are body cameras, so that there can be accountability, and that's absolutely critical. These people go from department to department, these bad apples, and they corrupt. The job itself is very difficult and corrupting because you're constantly dealing with, again, the lower echelons of society. I've got nothing but sympathy for policemen. I got more for firemen, though, I got to say.
Anybody else want to jump in on this, or we'll move to a different topic?
The last thing that I think about is that defunding doesn't solve the problem. I think it adds to it. I would rather see local law enforcement here in Nevada and other states where I have good friends who are in law enforcement. I'd like to see them have more joint ventures, more partnerships, where we partnership with mental health, where we partnership with coalitions that are studying and working on cultural issues and training our local law enforcement to be more adaptive to those types of situations instead of just yanking the money.
So let's talk about something that Frederick brought up that I wanted to get your take on, and we polled on this too, but I'm really interested, and anybody can jump in and talk amongst yourselves about this. Frederick talked about the governor's policies on COVID and how he thinks they were inequitable, that treated major businesses like gaming different than others. How's the governor doing? Who wants to start?
Well, I want to start. May I?
You may.
And let's go back to last June. That's the beginning. He bit the bullet, and he went against all the casinos, and I'm pretty sure they're very strong here, and they carry a lot of weight. For him to close them all down, I mean, it had to take a lot of a lot of guts or whatever you want to call it, in his political career.
What do they call it in Brooklyn? I'm kidding. Go.
Same same thing, yeah. I mean, he bit the bullet. He bit the bullet. And I don't know about these other small businesses, but I mean, a lot of since that's happened, I mean, we've been going to restaurants as long as we wear masks and, inside. First it was just takeout. Now it's most of the restaurants we go to is, and some of the casinos even open their buffets. So
you're pretty positive about what the governor has done,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Who else agrees?
Yeah, I am.
I do.
Go ahead.
I'm not looking at before the pandemic. I'm looking at the pandemic and on. And I agree with the gentleman. I think he did a fantastic job. These casinos are out of control. They are out of control. They just get away with murder in every single way, including taxes. It burns me up that education, as me being a teacher, is so poor here, and they don't pay more funneled into education. It's disgraceful. I don't know how. I would never bring a young child here to live and grow up. Not that it's so great all over the place, but still in all. And I'm sorry that he closed down these mom and pop places, but it had to be done. This was a terrible, terrible situation. It's a pandemic. And if we were going to mix, it was going to spread and get worse and worse. These terrible actions, controls had to be done to keep us safe. I just don't understand people that badmouth him. I don't understand people that won't get vaccinated so we could be herd vaccinated and wear a mask.
What does everyone think? Anybody over here think about what Barbara said? Kid, what do you think? You're trying to get your bearings in life. You're a young guy. You're coming. Suddenly, there's this pandemic. You're trying to get started as a YouTube influencer and other kinds of things. What do you think about what the governor has done and what these other folks have said about? Frederick's upset about what he thinks is disproportionate treatment. A couple others over here think that the governor bit the bullet when he had to. What do you think?
Well, I would say I just moved to Vegas from Alabama like 5-6 months ago. So
Welcome.
I'm still getting the hang of things. But I agree, when the governor did close the casinos, I felt like that was a good move.
But then he opened the casinos before he decided to open, quote unquote, non-essential or essential. I mean, again, the restaurants, they've been trying to close down the video poker bars for years. They want all the money. That's the bottom line.
I mean,
for
no.
weeks.
Let Eric jump in.
I'm
Jump
sorry.
in over here.
I mean, you got to understand, though. I mean, we're Las Vegas. I mean,
Yeah,
without the casinos,
that's true.
I don't know how we're gonna sustain ourselves. I mean, that's our biggest. For him to open up the casinos again, I mean, that's like our money maker for the most
Yeah.
part.
Bread and butter.
a lot of people that live here, they work at the casinos.
Without convention traffic, we wouldn't have anything. The bottom line is that he opened the casinos before he opened the conventions, before he opened. Now, and this was due to fiscal influence, no doubt, unconditionally. With the little places with 15 or less machines, they don't have restaurants anymore. Why is that? Well, it's because of the pressure of the major properties. Now, the fact that the major properties aren't paying their fair share for education, we should have the best educational system in the country statewide. We're neck and neck for last place with Arkansas, okay, for math and science. Nationally, we're 38th in the world. We used to be in the
But Frederick,
top
that
10.
doesn't have anything to do with what happened during COVID and how he handled the COVID
Okay.
situation. And I believe all governors were set up. It was an
Yeah,
impossible
that's true,
situation.
though.
Whether you're a Republican governor or a Democratic governor, you had a once in a lifetime, once in a career type situation that was forced upon you, not your fault.
Indeed.
Law enforcement, healthcare workers, all of us were put into a situation not of our choosing. And I think you're in a situation where you have to make decisions where you're prepared that somebody's not going to like it. And I applaud him for putting our safety and our health and our economy first, even if it meant
Absolutely.
reopening the casinos before other businesses,
Caesar,
including mine.
I'm going to let you come back, but
Yeah.
I promise. I just want to give everyone a chance. Caesar, what do you think about this issue about how the governors perform?
I mean, there's no playbook in this, right? Like, this has never happened before. So I think no matter what he did, people were going to like him or not going to like him. He was in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
It's not like you can pull up a playbook from like 10 years ago, like, oh, this is how we handled it then. Like, this is all new.
Right.
So this goes for every governor, every leader in this country. Like, you didn't know. So you were kind of just, I guess, for lack of a better term, you were just winging it
Save lives.
to the best of your ability, you know?
Go ahead, Barbara, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the way he opened up the casinos before he really thought to, because Carol Goodman badmouthed him so, badmouthed him. Instead of working together as a team, she was more involved with the economy and our well-being. Well, there'd be no well-being if we all died from COVID. He closed it to keep us safe, to keep people from coming in and spreading the darn thing. What was done had to be done.
Absolutely.
And I think that it was a little premature. But he went along with it. He went on Anderson Cooper, and she went on and she was a disgrace. The people in the United States must have thought she was they must have. People that called me from the East Coast, they said she was like a moron.
I apologize, but I really enjoyed that interview with Anderson Cooper. I mean, maybe that's just my personality, but I was very proud that she was who she was. But maybe it's just because I hate Anderson Cooper. You know?
Tell me, that's interesting, because there are different perspectives, obviously. Eric, why were you proud of her during that interview? And in case people watching don't remember, she went on, she talked about how she was against the lockdowns, and she thought that...
She laughed at him, basically, when he was... It's just the way that he is and the part of the organization that he is, they put out all this misinformation. And it's like I don't watch the news very much, so everybody kept coming to me with all these oh, did you hear this? Did you hear that? I was like, well, no, I didn't hear this. And you believe that? That's crazy. I mean, just listening to people, what they believe is just insane.
True.
But I mean, to a certain degree, I mean, if they're all saying that, you're going to start believing it. You know what I mean? But I don't know, just something about Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper and and Guido. They just.
Are you referring to Chris Cuomo?
Yes, I am.
I can tell you're a CNN fan. It's interesting, though. Eric brings up a point. There's a lot of other things to talk about, and I want to get in. Please weigh in with your opinions. And I'm glad to see that Eric came out of his shell a little bit there with some strong opinions. But what about the media? Who do you trust? And it's going to do you no good to say the Nevada Independent, but you're also welcome to. I'm being facetious. But do you guys, who here, raise your hand if you pretty much trust the media? Raise your hand. All right, Brooklyn.
I do.
Why?
I do. Period. I do.
You do, just
Yeah.
from experience.
Yeah.
Someone tell me why you don't trust the media.
Confirmation bias. I mean, ultimately, Trump has succeeded in polarizing our society to such an extent. Well, Fox News, on the flip side of the coin, and it's the same coin, we're all Americans, would be Stephen Colbert, or Anderson Cooper. I don't watch CNN. I'll pick up a little bit of MSNBC just for data, strictly, not opinion. Rachel Maddow, no, but I sure as heck won't take my advice from Tucker Carlson, medical advice for sure. Absolutely, unconditionally. So both of these polls are so biased in terms of their presentation and interpretation of the so-called facts. There are no alternative facts.
Right.
Okay. There's the CDC guidelines. There is peer-reviewed studies. Horse dewormer, and anti the other home remedies, we'll say, that are being pushed online. These are online,
So-
the online driven forwarded tweets. They're going viral because they're outside of the realm of scientific experience, which people
Right.
don't want to take the time. They don't have the sunk costs in terms of time and energy to educate yourself as far as what peer-reviewed means, what the latest in genetics, what the latest in virology advocate.
Like my roommate, he's a
don't know.
pharmacy tech.
Yes.
And he has people come up to him all the time and ask him these crazy questions because
Yes.
they read something online.
Yes.
You know, they were saying, can we drink hydrogen peroxide? And he was like, no.
That's right.
Don't drink hydrogen.
No,
It
no,
says
no.
on the bottle, do not ingest.
Did you need to be a pharmacist to tell people that
I-
not to
I-
drink
you know,
hydrogen peroxide?
that's what I'm saying. It's
So who else,
crazy.
to talk about the media and whether you trust the media or not?
I don't trust the media because it's like life is an experience. It's like really nothing new under the sun. So it's like everything just repeat itself just in a unique, different way. So you just have to pay attention. Like, they're just like going off what everybody tell you. You know, you can easily believe them, but then believing someone can get you in positions and situations that you never imagined just because you believe so much. So,
Where do you get information from that you trust, Kadarius, besides on YouTube?
like making your own mistakes in life. Like, that's how I learn.
Associated Press.
Let
Reuters.
Barbara John.
So sorry.
Well, as far as
Frederick's going to dominate
information,
if I let him. He's running for governor. I think we should have included him
me,
in the
I'm
poll.
sorry.
Go ahead.
when I hear things, I don't take it for face value. I listen, I hear, I think, and I decide what I'm going to believe. Okay, I don't trust the media, and I don't trust these different things on the internet. I just really, just like if I had a medical problem, I really think looking it up on the computer can be very misleading. And
So where do you go then, folks? Where do you go to get good
well,
information?
you listen.
So, I mean, Kadarius and you seem to agree that you just got to go and you got to decide for yourself what you're
What you're
trust-
going
But
to
once you
own.
but once you lose trust in the media, then then you're going in the dark to some extent. What do you think, Caesar?
You know, I think whether it's like Fox News or CNN, they're giving you like the basic facts, right? But then it's these people like Anderson Cooper, Tucker Carlson that start to sway you one way or the other. But at the core of it, I think they're giving you the same story, but just kind of like swaying you. And I think it's up to you to decide like, you know, how you want to interpret what they're saying and not be swayed by what they're saying.
And I feel that information is the key.
Yes.
You gather as much information as you can, and then you decide how you want to interpret it and own it, and what you want to own and what you don't.
Rational critical thinking needs to be promoted to a much greater extent in our educational
Rational.
system. Yes,
Right.
and you know, a well-informed public is a cornerstone of democracy. You can't trust the people if they can't get the facts, or they don't get the facts, or if they're easily swayed by strong rhetoric. You don't need that. You really want. I agree with you, sir. Absolutely, absolutely. The spin is just ridiculous. And you know, the problem with the internet is that it's all about this again. Instead of sponsorships, we're talking about hits, likes, and subscriptions. You know, so you say something outrageous, and hopefully it's gonna develop some sort of traction and some sort of impetus, and boom, you're up to 100,000 members on your YouTube channel.
So let's talk about someone who hasn't come up yet in conversation, which I'm surprised, and I want you all to weigh in.
Oh, no.
Please. And not Frederick first, no offense, because he's gotten all primed already. Tell me how you think the president's doing. Who wants to jump in on that? Don't be shy. You're not here to be shy. Let Eric go ahead.
Disaster.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Tell me-
Disaster.
Did you vote for him?
No.
Okay. Tell me why you think he's a disaster.
Well, first of all, the pullout in Afghanistan. I mean, no, it seems like you can't really blame him, because I think he's kind of a puppet. You got to blame the people that's behind him, okay? Because nobody thought of the Afghanistans that helped us over these 20 years, that were interpreters, that were there for us, you know? To think about, nobody ever said, well, we're going to pull out the troops. Nobody ever said pulling out them. Not one word. You know, I mean, go back 2 years, 3, you know, go back 1, 2, even Trump. I never heard him say, we got to pull out those Afghanistans too. Besides our troops, we're getting them out. We're going to get our troops out of there at a certain date, but nobody said anything about these other people. And there's hundreds of thousands, I understand. I couldn't believe that was that many that were there for us over the 20 years. And their family, so you figure, but nobody ever mentioned them. That was number one. Number two, the disaster at the Mexican border is horrendous. I mean, I think Trump had at least he had some kind of a control. Now it's like rampant. I mean, they never had so many, and who knows who's coming in? Who knows who's coming in? How many terrorists are coming in? How many people with illnesses are coming in? It might not even be the COVID, but it could be other diseases that we don't even know about, and we're going to really get hurt, because he's pulling them out. He's putting these people in different states so he can get votes for the Democrats.
Who else has a feeling about the president?
The immigration system is broken, guaranteed. What we were left as far as Border Patrol, U.S. Border Patrol, he hasn't reduced that. He hasn't fundamentally changed the policy. You can't change the legal system, the immigration system, as it were. The deal to pull out of Afghanistan was designed by the Trump State Department, exclusively negotiating with the Taliban. Now, Trump's firm position is anti-political refugee. Now, you want to take in all of these refugees that helped out the United States? Absolutely. You want to stop the Taliban, getting money per scalp, the bounty that was paid for my brothers over in Afghanistan, paid out by Putin.
So
you want to stop? Biden stopped that. Biden put an end to it. He made a tough decision.
So you think he's doing a pretty good job? You think he's doing a pretty good job?
I think he might be a puppet. I mean, 2 aneurysm surgeries later.
Did you vote for him, Frederick?
I did.
Okay, so who else has something to say about the president and how he's doing? Who wants to talk about it? Come on.
I think he's doing exactly how I thought he was going to do.
Meaning?
Yeah, like horrible. I mean, he gave the Taliban like how many military equipment? I mean, billions of dollars of military equipment, just left it there for him.
That was Trump's deal, negotiated by Trump.
It didn't happen under Trump.
That was Trump's deal.
But it happened under Biden.
He didn't have the guts to pull out.
Did you vote for him, Eric?
Do I vote for?
Did you vote for Biden?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Anybody here vote for Biden?
Yes.
Yes.
How do you feel he's doing?
I think he's doing about the way I expected. Of course, I didn't plan on the pullout of Afghanistan, but again, he inherited that. And could it have been handled better? Maybe. Would other people have been offended in an upheaval? Probably. There's no way he was going to make a decision that pleased 100% of the people. So for me, having that put upon him by his predecessor with a deadline for the pullout, the one thing I know happened, whether it happened correctly or succinctly, it's done. Our troops are home.
Thank God.
Anybody else down there? Feelings about Biden? Barbara? Nothing?
Well,
Caesar?
if I may.
Go ahead, jump in.
Okay, back to what my colleague here said earlier. Trump designed the pullout. Wait a second. Biden has changed every single thing that Trump has done.
Right.
How come he didn't change that? If you claim that
He should have.
how come? How come he didn't do that? He changed this, he changed that. Oh, Trump did that. Let's get rid of that. And he's changed almost every single thing. And Trump did a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. Okay? Put America first. It's not such a bad idea, is it?
Hard line
I mean,
against-
come on. He put the screws to everybody at the same time. He put the screws to everybody. And even France, who was one of our closest allies, come on, nobody's paying their dues. So he pulled out of there. Not that I'm pretty sure he wants a better air for us. But what are we going to pay for it all? We're paying for it all. You know, the European Union not paying their dues. He forced them to start coming up with some money to put into that. And look, he took on Rocket Man, and now all of a sudden Rocket Man is getting a little cutie, huh? I don't think he'd be so cute if Trump was in there. And that's it.
You're talking about North Korea's leader that
Yes, North
using the
Korea,
nickname
Rocket
Trump
Man.
gave him. I got.
Kim Jong-un.
Anybody else want to talk about Joe Biden? Okay, let me ask you a different question. Let's talk about politicians in general, which has become a dirty word, and you're probably all cringing right now. Can any of you name a politician that you actually admire or trust or respect?
I loved Bill Clinton. Bring back Bill Clinton. I loved him.
You're a Clinton-Trump voter, right?
Yes.
That's right. Why did you love Bill Clinton?
I just did. He did. He had it together. He had it together. Even he had a situation with Monica. He still came out smelling like a rose after all that. I mean, he
Anybody else? Anybody else have a politician they can name they trust, admire,
I
respect?
like Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz. Tell me why.
Of course, Kennedy.
Kennedy, thank you.
Kennedy.
Let,
was
let, let Eric weigh in. He's talking about Ted
I
Cruz.
mean, because he's really trying to bring like everybody to see like the border of what's going on. You know, I mean, I know it's his border, but I mean, you know, he's trying to bring to light like stuff that the media's trying to I guess kind of hide, and then at the same time he's really giving it to like the Biden nominees that they're trying to bring up. Like, I mean, if you watch the news and you watch all the stuff they got going on, I mean, these people, like the stuff that they believe is like crazy, and he's like going into the past and showing like what these people believe, and I don't know, I just, you know, I mean, I know he's not perfect, but I mean,
Who is, right?
I guess he's one of the ones I respect.
None of the
So
politicians.
it's interesting, Eric, since you mentioned that. I mean, Ted Cruz is a very conservative Republican. You're right about what he says about the border. Why aren't you registered as a Republican then?
I was, but then there's a lot of for what the Republicans did that I just like the Democrats are just like really into doing stuff, and the Republicans are just really into not doing stuff. You know what I mean? They're just like,
Obstructionist.
So it was because of them not doing stuff, as you put it, that you decided to switch and become a nonpartisan?
yeah. I mean, 'cause they're not even putting up a fight. I mean, hardly. I mean, they're just like getting bulldozed over, and they're just not doing anything.
How long ago did you switch over from a Republican to a nonpartisan?
Not very long ago.
Is that right?
Yeah.
The one beautiful thing about the Republican Party is its devotion to fiscal conservativeness. This is truly its claim to fame, that we limit federal spending, small government.
Right.
This has been completely abandoned. Now, Ted Cruz slunk off to Cancun while his state was dealing with no power because the state power grid, they won't share power with the rest of the. It's absurd. The bottom line is that we need. We're just not going to find that fiscal conservative approach, and we really need that.
Who do you admire and trust?
That's a tough question.
That's what I'm here for.
I wish. I mean, Bill Clinton, aside from his little escapade. I mean, he balanced the budget, and he was a Democrat. Now,
So-
this is something that, and going hard against China is one thing. Going hard against NATO is another.
So
NATO is us.
So
Russia's
I
not.
really want to see if there's anyone everyone can name. So we heard Ted Cruz, we heard Bill Clinton. Barbara, can you name me? You followed this closely, I'm sure, for years. You're a retired teacher, right? And so, can you name a politician you trust, admire, respect, even?
My favorite was Kennedy. I mean, I didn't like what he did to Jackie, but politic-wise, when he was killed, I cried for days.
What about you, Caesar? Any politicians you trust, respect, admire?
So I don't trust any of them, but I will say I am very intrigued by AOC, just because she is just so different from what you would expect from a politician. She's not only going against the other party, but she also goes against her own party, which is, as like a semi-rookie politician, it's very interesting to like see and follow her. So I wouldn't say I admire or anything, but like I am intrigued by
Right.
what she's doing and how she's
I'll
shaking
say
up.
interesting, but I won't say brilliant.
Well, I didn't say brilliant, but I am intrigued.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz is a brilliant attorney. I mean, he's great with cross-examination. But
Anyone you respect, trust, admire?
I think for me, there are quite a few, and I apologize, I can't always remember their names, that there's pieces and parts of their platform that I appreciate. Elizabeth Warren was one. AOC, I again am intrigued by her. Some of our governors, previous governors of Colorado, and I can't remember all of their names, but there's no one bright, shining star for me. If I could pick components of various politicians and blend them into one, I'd probably come up with that.
Kadarius, you're just starting to get aware of this stuff, it seems to me. You're trying to learn every day. When you look around, is there anyone you say, hey, I agree with what that person's saying. I think I could vote for that person. Anyone like that for you yet?
Not yet, not right now. I can tell you who I don't like.
Go ahead.
That's a lot easier, isn't it?
Alabama, Kay Ivey, and Nancy Pelosi. I just have a beef with them.
Tell them.
They just didn't really do nothing for my state, for Alabama. Like, they really didn't do much to help us at all. Like, they made situations worse, like real worse in the state of Alabama. So I just had a beef with them ever since.
I did think of one, kind of. I would say maybe Stacey Abrams.
Tell me
Just
why.
because
Stacey
of
Abrams.
what she's tried to do in her state with like elections and trying to keep them as fair as you can, and then also what happened to her with the current governor now. That I think there was like some fraud maybe going on, but I think she's trying to do the good thing there.
Al Franken.
Go ahead.
The governor of Michigan really impressed me. I thought she should have been our vice president. She really
Whitmer, you're
handled.
talking about.
Yeah.
Gretchen Whitmer,
Yeah, she really handled things unbelievably when the rioting was going on. And also Duckworth, I think her first name is Tammy.
Tammy Duckworth, sure.
Yeah, she really impressed me,
She served.
really.
So we only have about a minute left, and so let me just go down. And by the way, it's been a great discussion. I really appreciate you guys all putting some thought into all of this. And you may say neither, but I'm just going to ask the question anyhow. If the election were held today, we'll start with Eric. We'll go down. Do you think you'd be more likely to vote for a Democrat or a Republican?
For what?
A Republican.
Republican. What about you, Kadarius?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. That's fair. That's fair. Go ahead, Jill.
If I were to vote today, I would probably vote for neither.
Neither.
Yeah, I'm that discouraged
Is that
with
bad?
both sides.
Is that bad? Yeah.
Yeah.
Frederick?
It depends on the individual. Policy positions. I think free and fair elections were obtained back in 2020, and sadly, a third of the population doesn't believe this to be the case, and these efforts to limit the voting rights is scary.
That's a whole nother topic we don't have time to cover in a minute.
Sorry.
But go ahead.
How about
Sorry, no.
Republican?
You vote you lean Republican
yeah,
at
I
this
would.
point? Okay. Caesar.
I would say Democrat just because I feel until I can see that Republicans aren't scared of Trump and can think on their own, I can't trust them.
Barbara, last word.
I feel the same way you do. I'm so discouraged. I couldn't vote for either one of them the way I feel.
It's interesting. You're kind of, this is such a representative group. We have a couple Republicans, a couple Democrats, and a couple people who say, nobody, right? Listen, this has been a great discussion. You've really started these focus groups off with a bang. I appreciate all of you taking it seriously
Thank you.
and answering all the questions. We're going to take a little break here at Indyfest 2021, and then we're going to come back with another focus group, so stick around.